Hey folks, I've been playing about 20 years now and I've taught a lot of camps in that time. And one of the most common things that I see is when leading a jam, a lot of times, we'll be playing a song and you go around the circle in a jam and take solos. And a lot of times people will say, no, I don't know that one yet, or I don't know a solo for that one yet. But so what they mean by that is I don't know, the melody or the melody with rolls. But a solo doesn't have to just be melody. Yeah, okay, preferably you do. But if you're just getting started and you want the experience of taking a solo, any solo, you can just play over the chords. So here are some things that are going to be really helpful for you. And kind of, one of the things to start with is this kind of very basic ear training. So in bluegrass music, and a lot of music, a lot of songs are going to be made up of the root, which is 1, the 4 chord, and then the 5 chord. So it can help to try to hear what that sounds like, what those changes sound like. So you'll have like a G chord, da, da, so then 4 up from that, da, 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 da. So there's a C chord, da, and then back to the G, da, 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 to that 5 chord, which is the D chord. So if you can start getting used to the sound of that movement, so that interval of 1 to 4, 1 to 5, or even just 1 to 4 to 5. If you can get used to that, then it's going to be a lot easier to follow the chords. And okay, so, devil's advocate, but Gabe, some songs have more than those 3 chords. Don't worry about it right now. You're just getting started. You don't need to know A minors, E minors, B minors, whatever. Granted, you will want to know that soon. But, for the most part, you can get away with just these 3 chords. So, like, for example, if you're playing a tune that has an A minor chord, you can just play a C chord if you don't know the A minor yet. It's basically the same chord. You just have a G note in there, or you can... Anyway, so where am I going with this? So when you get to taking a solo, this is where people kind of have pause, because they either learn their solos from tab, and they haven't learned one for this particular tune yet, or they just don't know a bunch of rolls, or they think that you can't just take a solo playing simple rolls, which is totally not true. Sometimes a solo can just be backup, just played louder. Take that backup from 5 to 11. So what I mean by that is you can play a really simple solo over those 3 chords. So like, let's say our song goes G, C, G, D. So if you're not confident, but you do know like a forward roll and you know those 3 chords, you could just take a solo like this. Or for that D, you could use D7, which is that. So, okay, yeah, that's all. No one's going to hear that solo and be like, whoa, man, you got to teach me that. But who knows? Actually, maybe someone might. But the point is, you're actually getting used to playing a solo over a song you don't know. And that's something that's really, really helpful and important in a jam or, on stage, if you're ever subbing for a band and they're like, hey, let's play this song you've never heard. Being able to hear the chord changes, going from 1 to 4, 1 going to be able to hear the motion of those chord changes. So you're going to be able to kind of anticipate where it's going. And a lot of times you'll hear backup instruments leading into those chords. So often with C, you'll hear them going from G, da 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 da, leading into that C, or something like that leading into the D. So you get these hints of where the music is going. And obviously the most important part of this is listening. So I had a professor at Berkeley, the late great John McGann, and he said, if you're not listening, you suck. Which maybe that's not necessarily true. When you're beginning, you have a lot to focus on, right? You're trying to focus on what your right hand's doing, what your left hand's doing. Also, while trying to focus on the music that's happening, and that's a lot to focus on. But once you get to the point where you've got a little bit of muscle memory going on, with at least one roll, could be the alternating thumb roll, then you can start listening to what's going on around you. And I don't necessarily mean, like listening to who's filling, who's doing what yet. That can, that gets difficult to kind of pick out individual instruments. But just listening to the overall groove and where the music is going. So, if we get to this thing of being able to hear this to C, G, D, you have a solo right there. But the great thing is you can also play that for backup if you just played a little quieter, and then you can start messing around with changing what roll you're using when you get into different chords. So what do I mean by that? So we start with the forward roll, C, forward roll, and then when you get to the D, you could switch to the alternating thumb roll. So like getting used to switching rolls from chord to chord. And that can be really tricky at first too, but the more you practice it, the better you'll get. I often tell people, turn on the TV or something and just sit there practicing like going around with these different rolls until your hand can do them. That's another issue that I see a lot with people who are just starting out, is they try to learn too much too quickly, and they try to move forward too quickly before they've gotten some of these basics down. And when I say basics, it's really important too to mention that the basics of bluegrass banjo are not basic. They're very, very confusing. We're playing an instrument with 5 strings with 3 fingers, mostly over 2/4 or 3/4 time. It's a bit much, guys. But anyway, so I've been yakking for long enough here. So those are some kind of skills that you can use to just get used to the basics of like ear training and, taking a solo that is, it's just rolling over chords, but you're still taking a solo. You're still getting used to that thing of playing a solo with people, and then once you actually have time to learn the song and learn a break for the song, that's great. So let's see. I'll play a tune, and I'll play one of those simple solos over it. I hope that helps someone. But if anyone has any questions about any of that, comment, and if I can answer, I will.